It's time for a Drummer Nation. Ever wonder what it takes to sign an endorsement contract with a major gear company? What are they looking for? Do you qualify? What are your responsibilities if you do? Do you get free gear? Can you design your own instruments? Do you get paid too? My guest is Chris Stankee, Artist Relations Manager for Sabian Cymbals. We'll cover all this and more in an edition of Drummer Nation you don't want to miss.
Created specifically for practice sessions, quiet tone practice cymbals by Sabian are designed to respond and feel like traditional cymbals, right down to their clearly defined bell, so the drummers won't have to change the way they play. Quiet tone practice cymbals by Sabian.
I absolutely love playing drums, and I couldn't imagine not having that in my life. And I really, if I could help facilitate that and have an impact on your life so that you could play drums, that means the world to me.
When seated at the drums, pressure on the tailbone, lower back, and hip joints can lead to pain. Only Carmichael drum thrones are scientifically designed to relieve and prevent discomforts associated with prolonged sitting. Carmichael thrones, we got your back. Chris Stankee, thank you for doing my show. How are you, my friend?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
I know you're the Artist Relations Manager for Sabian, but like most people in this industry, I'll bet you got started as a drummer. Is that true?
I sure did, yeah.
Most of us were players and many of us still are. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I grew up in rural Iowa and played drum set for fun and was schooled in concert percussion, more timpani and the related instruments. And went to Berkeley right out of high school and learned a whole heck of a lot there from some great people. Not only the instructors, but the other students I went there with, like John Blackwell and Johnny Rabb and Little John Roberts. And bunch of amazing players. As a matter of fact, the first drummer I saw at Berkeley was Abe Laboriel Jr., who was playing for one of the top student bands there, and realized I had my work cut out for me. So I knuckled down for 4 years and actually split to join a band for a little while, but went back and actually got my degree, and then moved to Michigan to work for Yamaha Drums right out of Berkeley as an intern, and then was hired in as a product specialist there. And
so that was the jump. That was the
Yeah,
jump into the industry.
Yeah, that was how I got in the industry, working for Dave Kelly and Steve Anzavino out of Yamaha when they were still in Grand Rapids with the drums. And left them after a couple years and joined a band and went on the road for about the next 5. And the last couple of years there on the road, I was playing 270 dates a year all over the country. So I did my time.
Yeah, I have similar stories. I told Stanton I used to do 300 dates a year, and he said, "Why?"
Yeah, right. After you play Juanitas for the 3rd time and Little Rock in the same year, you're like, what's going on here? What am I doing? But I had a blast, wouldn't trade it for anything.
Same here, and it holds you in good stead for the industry stuff. So what does the job of Artist Relations Manager entail? A lot of people think that's a dream job, and tell us about that.
Well, certainly there are aspects of it that absolutely are. One of my favorite parts is designing cymbals with artists. To stay on the cutting edge, we have to use the talent and inspiration and vision that some of these unique artists have. And it's taken us to some great places, working with people like Mark Juliana and Chris Dave, and even today, Chad Smith and Dave Weckel, and last week was David Garibaldi, who we have an exciting new project coming up with. So that, being a drummer, is one of the most rewarding parts of my gig.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there's a lot of service that goes along with that, chasing orders, for tours and drummer special requests and whatnot.
Well, let's back up for a second.
Uh-huh.
Being a drummer, you also puts you in good stead there, but you also have to be something of a product expert as well, right?
Yeah, I've had to become a product expert, and I worked retail for a little while at Rip Music in Grand Rapids, in between Yamaha and my time on the road with the band, and learned a little bit about everybody's product, cymbals, drums, even guitars and whatnot being a full line. So learned a lot that way and just found a genuine interest in what's different and what makes, unique tone, what parts of the construction are what make up the sounds that we all like and use and enjoy.
It's a complicated process to build a cymbal. You also, the artists who work on products with you are selective few. Generally speaking, you're picking out cymbals for a lot of artists, aren't you?
I am, yeah. And that's nice to know that many of them trust me to guide them, to the right place in our catalog and the right place for them. And that's very gratifying to be able to find those sounds and then see what these guys do with them. Watching the artists perform with the cymbals, not only the ones you help create, but your amazing company, and Sabian has some of the best craftsmen in the world, and to just hear it in action in the hands of some super talented drummers is very gratifying.
Indeed, a lot of great concerts you get to go to. Now, do you also have a part of clinics? Do you run clinics or set them up, or what's your involvement there?
Yep.
I think what our cymbals brought to the Sabian family is that there is lots more hand hammering. They're all hand hammered, and so you really have to perfect the hammering technique and where to hammer on the cymbal. You don't want to get the cymbal too thin in a lot of places. They were willing to try it, and I think we came out with a great product that is a great musical instrument.
Sabian Artist Relations also runs our clinic program, and we have an Artist Relations manager in Europe and also a Director of Education, Dr. Nick Petrella, who handles all the B&O artists and marching artists and communications with the colleges.
B&O is band and orchestra.
Yeah, and so many of the colleges we have direct relationships with and make some unique stuff for their marching programs and whatnot. And Nick handles all that.
Is artist relations part of the marketing department generally at these manufacturers?
Absolutely, yeah. That's something we always have to keep in mind, is that we're part of sales first and marketing, and so we have to draw we have to bridge the gap between the performers and the mechanics of manufacturing and selling a product. And there's no doubt that we exist to help sell our stuff.
Well, to that end, you're involved in
those amazing players to demonstrate that stuff to the average Joe on the street.
To that end, you're also involved in social media posting, I presume?
Yes, I am. Yep. At one time, I was doing all of Sabian's social media, and thankfully now have a lot of help from colleagues and outside creative agency just to keep up with it all.
It's turned into a really big job, hasn't it?
Yeah, for a major brand like us to try and keep up with all the changes and what people are interested in, and content creation is a full-time job, and not for one person at a major brand.
Now you have an office in LA. What goes on there?
I do. We have a artist relations office and showroom here, where this is where the artists come to test out the cymbals in person. Us being in Meductic, New Brunswick, where the cymbals are manufactured, it's not so easy for artists to get there and try this stuff in person. And you know as well as I do that any cymbal aficionado really wants to put a stick on a cymbal. Even if they find they like a certain model, handmade stuff is handmade stuff. You're never going to find two that sound exactly alike. They're going to be close, but some people, close is not good enough. Close is a million miles away from what they would like and prefer. So,
and also, as I've had artists point out to me, you want to feel the stick on the cymbal. It's not just the sound; it's the feel too.
Absolutely.
Hey, everybody out there in cyber world, this is Adam Nussbaum.
Hi, Dave DeCenzo here.
Hi, Bermuda Schwartz here.
Hey everyone, Stanton Moore here.
Hey guys, Johnson Pesta here.
Hey everybody, this is John J.R. Robinson.
Hi, Todd Zuckerman here for the Drum Center of Portsmouth. They're knowledgeable, they'll be able to help you and guide you and make the right choices for you and the music that you play.
From Wingnut to Wuhan, these chaps know what they're talking about. Highly recommended. But what do I know? I'm a drummer.
So it's a different world now. The kids are buying stuff online, so they have to, rely on our testers and our expertise to make sure they get a good cymbal the first time, but for somebody like Jeff Hamilton, that's not good enough. You've got to put a stick on it, feel it, watch it warble, listen to its response, its crash, its decay, its articulation. It's a million things going on at once, and that really needs to happen in person.
Heavily nuanced, yes. So let's talk about endorsements in general. What makes a candidate for an endorsement?
Well, they've got to have a good amount of exposure to a large audience. Not any one particular audience, but their audience. Jazz drummer appeals to that crowd, and I have to be able to work with somebody like Jeff, and equally somebody like Chad Smith or George Collius from Nile for super fast speed death metal kind of stuff to everything in between. So that's the real joy in my gig, because I actually do appreciate all the music. And enjoy. I still learn something new every day talking to these amazing artists. So we look for a lot of exposure to a particular audience, and obviously they have to be good. We try to make sure that they're proficient on their instrument, and that helps the influence factor. So influence and exposure are the two main things that we look for. When somebody hears them do what they do, are they more apt to listen to our product in the store or walk to that part of the wall because they heard so-and-so playing that? I can tell you, yes, that absolutely still happens, and people seek out those sounds that inspire them.
Absolutely. Now, should a young artist apply for an endorsement with a company, or wait to be approached, or just talk to companies they love, or look for gear, or what would you advise kids coming up in terms of, because they all want endorsements?
Yes, I know. I'll let you in on a little secret. If you're not already playing the product that you love, you're probably not going to get an endorsement. We ask on our application, it's a one-page application just for the artist's info. It doesn't include a bunch of bio and video links and all that. I mean, any of that is easy to find with a quick Google search. But what we do ask is what's in their current setup. And if you don't list Sabian, you're not going to get a Sabian endorsement.
It's important
unless,
to note
you're a household name. We don't look for people that aren't already playing and enjoying our product, because that's not a genuine endorsement.
Exactly. It's important to note who's endorsing whom. The artist endorses the product.
Yes. Yes.
Sometimes that gets flipped around.
And remember, we're here for sales, so if there's not a good amount of influence or exposure, do you really want to apply? Probably nothing going to happen if you do, unless you really have that influence and exposure.
My new site, Stanton Moore Drum Academy, is the perfect online drum learning platform for any level drummer to learn how to play the drums the same way I did, with the advantage of having me road test the material on hundreds of stages, countless clinics, lessons, and master classes, and dozens of studio sessions every year. On the site, you'll find over 13 hours of video, dozens of written lessons, and fresh material gets added all the time. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of you as subscribers on the site, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
So influence and exposure, predisposition to love the product, and to be a soldier for the brand. What are the usual terms of a contract for an artist? What's expected of them?
It used to be more loose than it is nowadays, but usually an endorser is afforded a deep discount on the product directly from the company. In the extreme cases of the high-level artists, there may be some free product involved. We may support clinics financially and with giveaways. We ask that artists never give away or loan the cymbals that we give to them. It's really easy for an artist, and this is just human nature, to want to help out their friends or their church or their school or other worthy causes, but we simply, can't support them all, so we don't allow their endorsement privileges to extend beyond their personal use.
And from our viewers who may not know, these are pretty standard criteria that you're citing from all the companies.
Yeah, you'll find the same thing with all the companies.
Mm-hmm. Is there a role for the artist? Do they have a responsibility to social media for the brand?
Yes, I mean, in the last few years, of course, it's such an important platform that we ask all of our artists to submit content, pictures, video, and we will seek it out as well. Obviously, the artist has their own brand to maintain, so they're constantly posting. They can't be creating content for 4 or 5 different endorsers, so there's a lot of shared content that goes around, but people are getting the hang of it, and we're finding a lot of this content that they've posted and just reposting because it's very relative and engaging, and endless supply of great content.
I think
it's
it's
not necessarily specific.
Yes, I think it's the social aspect of social media. It's not
Right.
just everybody putting out a commercial for themselves, but sharing pertinent information, interesting facts and stories, pictures about things their viewers, their followers would be interested in. What are some of the common misconceptions about endorsement? I'll throw out one. Free gear.
Free gear, yeah, that's one of the common, misconceptions, and that's usually just the uninformed. But once they learn and know how it actually works, I think there's still a lot of chatter between the younger crowd that don't necessarily know what to expect. The smart ones go into it with an open mind and few demands. I rarely have demands placed on me to sign or recruit a new artist, but that's basically it.
When I had my company, I had a kid at a clinic ask the question, "Is it just free gear, or do you get money too?" And he didn't mean anything by it. He just didn't know any different.
I think that's a white whale. If you find an artist that's being paid by a company, they're usually a guitarist. That doesn't really happen in the drum business. At the highest levels, we may develop a product with a specific artist, and they may get a royalty on the sales of those products. So if they have that kind of influence and exposure and put together an amazing product that people want, why shouldn't they get a little percentage of that? So that's where an artist would get paid, not just paid to play the stuff, but they had to work with us on something that we released.
Now, you kind of touched on my next question, which is artists as celebrities. We think of some of the greatest drummers in the world as celebrities, when really, you and I know we can go into a Starbucks with 3 of the most famous drummers in the world, and nobody has the slightest idea who they are.
Right.
So this notion of celebrity is not something we enjoy as drummers, maybe for guitar players or certainly singers or leaders of bands.
Yeah, and I think, if drummers wanted to be celebrity, they certainly have that avenue now with YouTube and Instagram, and I'm starting to see more of that. But, there are artists like Neil Peart who just don't enjoy that aspect of fame and celebrity. And there are artists like Chad Smith who absolutely do. He'll sign every autograph that people ask of him, and he generally enjoys that. And not because he's getting his ego stroked, he's just a genuine nice guy who appreciates that people like his music and what he does, and he's got a hell of a personality for it. So some artists take to being a celebrity, and some not so much. They're happy being in the back, doing what they do, working on their craft, and just being a member of the drum community, which is a pretty amazing group of people to be a part of, as you know.
I like to say, if you're a drummer, you're a member of the hippest club in the world.
Absolutely.
You're a drummer. And I like Don Bennett. You know Don Bennett. He had a
Sure.
funny quote. He said, "Put 2 or more drummers in a room, and before long, fun breaks out."
Yeah. It doesn't take long.
Well, that brings me to my next question. You know, drummers have a big camaraderie amongst each other for a lot of reasons we could go into, but I often hear young drummers say, "I want to go to NAMM." And I always say, "You really want to go to PASIC." You know what I mean? NAMM is a dealer convention for sales and all that stuff. They may or may not have a public day, but PASIC is the place where drummers, kids, everybody can go and hang. They can talk to Chris Stankee at a PASIC.
Absolutely. PASIC is I mean, I've been going to PASIC since, right out of college. I think I went to my first one the first year out of college as an intern for Yamaha, and was just hooked because that's where the drummers are, that's where the industry people are, that's where the band and orchestral and marching artists are, some of the biggest drum set artists. You know, this PASIC is going to be fantastic with Todd Zuckerman and Alex Cunha and Glenn Sobel and Manuel Capolet and Carl Perazzo and Jeff Hamilton and his band too, if I remember.
I know, that's great.
Right?
Yeah, the trio.
So man, it's the place to do that, to become a member of the community. You're instantly in the club, go meet people, and see what it's all about. PASIC is the place to do that for sure. NAMM is a party hang, and yes, you can make some contacts, but let me give you a piece of advice. Don't go to NAMM and seek out an artist relations director on the booth and tell them your life story and ask for an endorsement, because that's not the place where that happens.
That's what I was getting at, exactly.
Yeah.
I want to clear up, I'm not sure which trio Jeff's there with. He has 2 different ones, and I don't want to plug the wrong one.
Yeah, I don't recall either. I'd have to look it up.
But it is an incredible lineup. And also, when I went to the first PASIC, I was thrilled. The first PASIC I went to, I was thrilled that I could actually talk to these people. You may have lunch with somebody famous. You know, you may be able to talk to, in those days, Remo Belli, or I met Bob Zildjian, you know, the patriarch of Sabian, at the show, and you could talk to the man, you know.
Yeah, just going to talk to Bob or Vic Firth. You know, one of my first experiences was Peter Erskine was playing, and I just picked up his new book right out of Berkeley and had him sign it for me and even explain a couple things to me. You know, in the bar after hours, you know, I interrupted him from talking to Skip Haddon, one of my old instructors at Berkeley, and you know, waited as patiently as I could, but it was so great to talk to him.
I'll leave you with a joke. At a PASIC convention, a bunch of drummers hanging out, and a guy in a bar yells out, "Oh, drummers are jerks!" Drunk at the end of the bar lifts his head up and says, "Wait a minute, fella, that's offensive." He said, "I'm sorry, are you a drummer?" He says, "No, I'm a jerk."
Yeah. I've met some characters in this business, as you know, Lenny DiMuzio and those cats, man.
Freddie,
so much
Jim
fun
Chapin.
to hang around.
I love those guys.
Yeah, Chapin. Oh, there was a guy that, that was another one of the best parts of going to PASIC is Jim Chapin walking around. Wrote one of the most famous drum books that we all use, Advanced Techniques for the Modern Drummer. He'd be walking around with a pair of sticks and a practice pad and showing everybody the Moeller technique, and I probably had 20 impromptu lessons from him over the years.
Me too. He'd give you
I
lessons.
took something away from everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. He'd give you a lesson in the elevator.
Yep. That's Jim Chapin, and that's the kind of stuff that happens at that PASIC for sure.
Well, I know you had a very small window of time, and these are pretty brief shows anyway, but I sure appreciate you coming on to do my show. A lot of people are very interested in part of the industry, and keep up the great work. We sure appreciate everything you're doing for Sabian.
Cool. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. With you with Crescent.
Thank you. I mean drummers in general when I say we. Thanks a lot, Chris, and I'll see you at PASIC, right?
You got it. Absolutely.
All right, brother. Yeah. Talk to you.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This is your host, Michael Vosbein, and I'd like to thank our friends at Sabian Cymbals, Sound Synergies, Stanton Moore Drum Academy, and Drum Center of Portsmouth. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.